Hey, welcome to Recent Reads. Gonna tell you about some good books tonight. We're gonna go around the room. Gonna tell you about everyone. Everyone, give us 10 seconds or so. Let us know a little bit about you. We'll start with Ed.
I'm Ed Keasley, and I make comic books such as Radical and Final Dragon and Sea Mantles from Earth.
Awesome. Nathan Judd, let us know.
I'm Nathan. I write and draw comics. Slowly getting there. It's fun.
Awesome. Justin McNamara.
I'm Justin. I'm trying to write and draw comics, but am more procrastinating and watching DVDs.
And last but not least, Shannon Browning.
Yeah, I'm Shannon Browning, and I'm in the top left corner.
It's where we like you. So, Batman Day during the week, and Batman gets a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. So I have to ask everyone, before we get started, what is your favorite Batman story? Who wants to go first?
You're gonna have to point someone out.
Oh, I'll go first. Mine's easy. Batman 1966, the two-part episode Batman and Catwoman and the Perfect Crime, where she was stealing two idols that were in the shape of ancient Egyptian cats, and when they were put together, they made a map or some stuff. But the reason that one resonates with me so much is that as a kid, I loved my Viewmaster. I don't know if you guys know Viewmaster, where you put the little things in. I had that on Viewmaster, so I know that story backwards and forwards. And I recently got the big box set of all three seasons of Batman from 1966, and didn't start from the beginning. Went straight to those two episodes and watched those, and then started from the beginning. So yeah, that's it. That's easy for me. That's my favorite Batman story. Awesome. Julie Newmar.
I always loved that movie, the 1966 movie. That's one that I watched to death as a kid. That was great. Anyone want to go next?
I have to say my favorite Batman story would still be like Batman '89, the Michael Keaton movie. That is literally the moment that started my 30-year love affair with superheroes and comic book characters and comic books and stuff like that. So, and even though that, like, you watch it nowadays and the dialogue's a little hokey and there's plot holes you can drive a battleship through, who cares? The movie's awesome. And Michael Keaton's still the greatest Batman on cinema. I don't care what anybody says.
I mean, it's given us so much of everything that we've had up to the movies that are still being released in the cinemas now. Like, none of it.
Oh, exactly.
So what a huge gamble they took to bring it to the screen. It was pretty remarkable for 1989.
Oh, hell yeah.
Ed?
I'm not really great at figuring out which is my all-time favorites, but ones that I've read a lot and really liked was the Batman Venom with the where Batman gets addicted to steroids.
Oh, yeah.
Turns into the Venom that Bane uses later on. I think that was from the late 80s. And the Tim Sale and who's Jeff Loeb, like the Long Halloween and Dark Victory and stuff. Those are really great.
You bastard.
Like a high quality.
That's a great one. And the new part of the story just came out this week, I think, in comic shops, like the
last Halloween.
The last Halloween, yeah. Which is pretty cool, having the original story that they worked on together sort of coming together again. It's very cool. Nathan?
Yeah, that was gonna be mine. So the long Halloween. I wasn't a fan of the art. Usually I only read art, but I thought the story was really cool. I because it was more grounded, it was really a detective story with like the crime kind of families coming into it, I think. And then and it was kind of a little bit of who done it. And it was just interesting because you're I don't know where this is gonna go. I think that's what kind of got me. It was a bit more interesting. It wasn't really about the action side of Batman.
That's what made it good, though, because it was kind of like I think they forget that sometimes. Like so many stories nowadays, they don't investigate the detective aspect of Batman
they forget
at all.
he's a detective, because everyone fucked up. Well, let's fun. But yeah, it's kind of like a noir story, maybe. That's why I liked it. It's a bit, it's not maybe drawn like a full noir, but yeah, kind of thinking back, that's probably kind of what it is.
I have to say that I love that. I love that somewhere is screaming at YouTube right now that none of us have said Killing Joke, so or Dark Knight Returns. So to that person, sorry, lol.
And I'm going to continue to disappoint you because mine is the Court of the Owls series storyline by Greg Capullo and Scott Snyder. Like that was I picked that one up from issue 1 of the relaunch, and it was just mind-blowing pretty much every issue all the way through. Like there are a couple of villains in there that I didn't get overly enamored by the end of the 50 odd issues that they did. But for the most part, like it started out so solid, had some great bits throughout. But that Court of the Owls storyline to me was like one of the all-time great Batman runs.
I think Snyder's too smart for me. I kind of get lost. I read it and I'm like, what? And then, so yeah, it's good because I had Capullo on that run, right?
Yeah.
Capullo run, yeah. So I read it and just going like, yeah, this art is like premium. This is good. Oh, there's an owl came out of nowhere. Okay. Oh, look, he's in a maze. He's lost now. I'm like, cool. Let's kill that. Sweet. But yeah, I got lost. It was good. But yeah, Snyder. Yeah, I don't know. I think I didn't read it all properly at one time, so that's when it gets you.
Now that we've paid tribute to Batman, make sure that you give us a like, give us a subscribe, because we would love to have your regular viewership.
I feel like Batman would just buy YouTube and just that's what he'd do.
It'd be,
I just like the fact that ComX is acting just like Warner Brothers is and using Batman to get everybody into the cinema.
Wow. Unbelievable.
You've got to take the marketing advantages while they're there. All right, so let's get into tonight's recent reads. I'm happy to start this one off, give everyone a little bit extra time. So this week I decided to go for a classic, and I read Silver Surfer Judgment Day, written by Stan Lee and Buscema. And I kind of really loved it. Like, this is 1988, so this is pretty much long after Stan Lee has stopped actively writing comics on a regular basis at all. And then John Buscema has this idea that he wants to do a Silver Surfer book. He wants to do full-page art, which had never been done in a Marvel comic before. So it's not broken down into panels. Every page is as if it's a panel throughout the story. And he wanted Stan to write the story for the book. So you get this nice little Silver Surfer side quest story where Surfer is sort of alone in space again, sort of lamenting his existence like he does, musing on the universe, thinking about the friendship he had with Galactus's new herald Nova. And then he sort of runs afoul of like some sirens and a portal that's trying to lure him to another dimension. He manages to sort of get away from that situation, and he comes across Nova, who's trying to find a planet for Galactus to consume. And they sort of talk about how they haven't been around each other for a long time, and so many things have changed, and no one's who they were anymore, and and that she doesn't have to do what Galactus wants her to do, even though she's actually a herald by choice. And they sort of part ways again. She goes off in sort of the direction he came from. she gets lured in by the sirens herself, and then falls prey to Mephisto, the demon. And he decides that he's going to try and use her to get at Galactus, because Galactus is as a demigod, he's sort of overly powerful, but Mephisto thinks that he's more powerful than Galactus, so he sort of wants to try and get back at Galactus and the Silver Surfer. So he sort of uses Nova and sets the trap to try and put his plan into place. And I'll give you an idea of how amazing these full-page pin-ups are. So,
Very nice.
Buscema at his best.
Absolutely, like this is off the back of what he was doing with like Conan, and sort of really establishing that sword and sorcery genre at Marvel Comics. That's sort of getting back into popularity right now. But this is absolutely classic John Buscema, like a combination of so many, decades of iconic work that he did, even on Silver Surfer himself. And it's like sort of beautifully watercolored as well. So it's got like it's not the sort of coloring that you normally see in a comic book, even of that time period. So it's kind of unique, and it's the first, I believe, comic by either Marvel or DC to have basically only splash page artwork for the entire issue. The artwork was done in its entirety first, and then mosquito. And then Stan came in and wrote the story and the dialogue and the explanatory text and all that sort of stuff over the top of it. And it's probably one of the last, like 1988 is probably one of the last instances of that real old school Marvel method being put into action in a story. So I love it because it's unique in so many ways. The story's sort of Shakespearean, like you've got a lot of you've got the godly figure, you've got the demon, you've got like the fallen son, you've got the replacement. It sort of plays on a lot of those archetypes that have existed in like biblical stories and stories from like sword and sorcery background and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, I think it's definitely something that's worth picking up, not just if you're a John Buscema fan, but also if you want to just see something that maybe you haven't seen from Stan Lee. Like a lot of people have read, Fantastic Four and Hulk and like all those early iconic Stan Lee stories, but maybe a lot of people haven't realized that he's put out some of these short form graphic novels and stuff like that long after he stopped actively writing comics of any kind. So you have to pick it up. I think it's contained within an epic collection called Silver Surfer Judgment Day, which I believe you can still get from some comic book stores. But you can also pick up, this is a first print graphic novel with a great Joe Jusko painted cover. And I didn't pay too much for this secondhand. I think I paid like $20, $25 or something like that, which, I mean, it's cheaper than a lot of new graphic novels that you buy if you can track down a copy. But yeah, I recommend picking it up because it's sort of unique time in history, I guess, for Marvel Comics. Like, it's a big goodbye from two sort of iconic artists or creators.
Cool.
Anyone want to go next? Or do we have any comments?
We got lots
Sorry,
of,
Ed, go on.
I'll just click them up so we can see.
Howdy, Kerry.
It
It is billed as like this is goodbye episode. and Sis is hidden deep in the background. Hello, everyone.
Yes. Oh, Batman versus
that's
Predator.
That was so good.
It's like a YouTube video, isn't it? Something like that. Short film on YouTube.
Oh no, you're thinking, yeah, that short film from years ago. No, there was a comic. They did a crossover with Predator years ago. They had I can't think of his name.
It's the Cubic
Andy Kubert did the art for it, and the art is incredible. And that was back in 1992, 1993, I think. Around that.
And Dark Horse got the rights to Predator, yeah.
That's cool. Didn't know that one.
There was both the Kuberts as well. That they did the penciling and inking. The Kubert
all the Kuberts are pretty good.
The children Kuberts, not the
bastards. So good. Yeah. Long Halloween last week. Good job.
It's long Halloween season.
Yeah,
I read it like years ago, so I'm like,
that's fine. That's perfectly fine.
That's great. It's a shame they never made the sequel to that, but anyway.
They did an animated movie, I think. There's a 2-part movie. I think they changed the ending a bit. I don't think I watched it, but I watched the first part.
There you go, told you.
Everyone loves
Dark Knight Returns and Killing Joke too easy. Go outside step outside the comfort zone a little bit.
We're just doing the top 10 Batman stories. And everyone else put it there.
An animated movie, I think, Batman Dracula, maybe.
Yeah, it was from the Batman series, the one that came after the animated series. Still a good Batman series. It really was. It was just, judged a little harshly because it wasn't Batman the animated series.
There was that period. There was like Batman with everything. I seem to remember there was like Batman versus Judge Dredd, and
I have that.
I think Superman versus aliens as well, and all sorts of stuff. They were throwing everything at the wall in those days.
Yeah,
I tried to read the Batman Spawn like that event, and I don't think I can do this. I tried. It's like
it was funny
I like them separate. Like let's just keep them separate.
Like because they've done it 3 times. They did it within the last 2 years. They did another one, but the ones they did back in the 90s, DC did a version, and Todd McFarlane did a version. And Todd actually got Frank Miller in to write his version, so he cheated a little bit. Wow, but the DC version, it's honestly like they only looked at the cover of one issue of Spawn and then based their character on that. It was not good. It was an interesting take on the story and stuff, but it was not good. But both the art and the story in the McFarlane version was far superior.
I like the DC one because I like Jansen, but
I think he got Capullo for the new one again. I think. I was like, that's why I was reading it. I was like, yeah, we'll give Capullo. Yeah, I'll read it. I was like,
that was good. The one. God, I'm getting into the trivia here, because that was around the time that he'd released. I think it was issue 18. There was a great big hiatus for a while, and then he released issue 21. And then, about a year later, he went back and released issues 19 and 20 out of order. But during that hiatus period is when the Batman Spawn issues came out. So everybody just assumed that the Batman Spawn was issues 18 and 19. Even to the point that at the end of the Batman Spawn, the McFarlane one, Spawn wound up with a batarang in his face. And in issue 21, the first thing you see is someone sewing up his face. And that's how he wound up with those stitches in his face for a very long time.
I love that. I love unofficial lore. I love when enough people can get together and agree on something, and that just becomes
you have to start making it. You disagree with something. You're like, no, I'll stick. I won't do that. What do they call it when they retrofit it and they change it? And it's like, I'll just pretend I didn't hear that. I'll just stick with my version. Of my version of the law.
Alrighty, who wants to go next? Who's been reading something cool?
Yeah, who's been reading it?
I will. Okay. As I've mentioned a few times, I moved about 2 years ago into like the house I'm hopefully staying in. And my parents finally gave me back all of my stuff that's been stored at their house for years. So I've been going through the boxes and finding stuff. And one of the things I was thrilled to finally dig out were these.
Oh,
Very nice.
These were a series of books that Paul Dini and Alex Ross combined on. So you've got this one, which is Superman Peace on Earth. You've got, and I got them all, Batman War on Crime, Wonder Woman Spirit of Truth, and finally Shazam Power of Hope.
cool.
And
who's doing interiors on them?
Alex Ross did full art on all of the books.
What? How's that possible? How's that possible?
Because he's a lunatic and he never leaves the house. But
how long did it take this? 20 years?
Oh, look at that.
no, I don't know how long it took him all to do all of these things, but
Dude, this is like 10 years worth of work. How?
no, it's only like this was over a couple of years.
That you know.
I could actually look in and see when it was published and shit like that. But yeah, if I remember rightly, it did not take all that long to come out.
Man.
Alex is like, for such a detailed artist, he's actually like, he works pretty quickly. If I remember rightly, when he was doing Kingdom Come, like I think it was 2 months in between issues, which is pretty phenomenal. But yeah, anyway, the one I'm talking about tonight is Superman Peace on Earth. The story is essentially a big thing about Superman. Like, one of the questions people ask about him is, if he's so super, why doesn't he fix all the world's problems? So the theme of this is on one day, he tries to make sure that everyone on Earth eats. He makes sure that everyone on Earth has a meal on this one day. And long story short, he fails. And he fails not because of what he was doing. He fails because the things he can't combat are human nature and greed and politics and infighting and so on and so forth. So yeah, he feels like he failed at the end of the day, but it's a beautifully written story as well as being a beautifully drawn and illustrated story. See if I can pick up another cool image. I'll bring that up there.
Oh, look at that.
I really didn't know about this. It's crazy.
These are old. These came out, let's see, when was this published? 1999. So yeah, these books are like 25, give or take, years old.
Yeah, I think you're that Kingdom Come.
I feel like it's important with a book like, especially with like a Superman type book too, like it's such a prescient time, like pre Y2K, pre 9/11. Like the sensibilities of this Superman and what you're getting is not the same as like what Superman's presented as now. Like, that hopefulness was like so resonant in those books, even when things weren't going to plan.
Yeah, and we were a lot more hopeful as a people. Like, yeah, I know everybody seemed to think that things were kind of bleak in the 90s. But there was this feeling that if we just band together, we can still sort of fix things. I think people's attitudes now are a lot bleaker and darker, and like there's not a lot of future hope anymore. I think that's why nostalgia is such a big thing at the moment. Like we're constantly going back and dipping into memories and what we remember made us happy rather than moving forward and creating new things. But without getting too heavy,
hang on, that was without getting too heavy. Holy crap!
No, we don't. Yeah, we don't want the theme of tonight's show being stories that can have you jump off a bridge. But anyway,
that's the name of the comic I'm reviewing, so that's a shame.
But yeah, I was thrilled when I found these when I was going through like one of my many boxes of stuff. Unfortunately, they're a little bit damaged. Like you can see up here, it's a little water damaged and stuff.
It's just love. It's love, man.
Yeah, they're not damaged. That's love.
Well,
yeah. The book doesn't open as well as it used to, but you know, we've still got stuff like this in the books.
I've seen these, like some of the art for this, but I never knew it was from a book. I just assumed they were covers.
Yeah,
something, you know.
Nice. But yeah, all four of those books, and the reason Superman did books on those four characters is because I remember reading in an article ages ago, he thinks they're the archetypes of every single type of superhero you can have. So with Superman, it's science and science fiction. With Batman, it's urban and crime stories. With Wonder Woman, it's fantasy and mythological. And what was Shazam? I can't remember what Shazam was.
I was going to say fantasy and mythological.
I think he was fantasy, and I think Wonder Woman was myth. And the other one, like he spoke briefly about possibly doing one about Plastic Man as well, because he said that's the only other one that's different, and that's comedy.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, I don't know if any of these are still available anywhere. I mean, the fact that you guys haven't even heard of them is incredible. But if you can track them down, like they're worth it just for the art. But at the same time, the stories written in them, like it's Paul Dini, who was famous for writing on Batman, the animated series. And whatever your favorite episode of Batman, the animated series was, it's a very good chance that he wrote it. Like he's the one who recreated Mr. Freeze and came up with the tragic story about his wife and like the reason why he does what he does. Up to that point, it was just a goofy guy who did cold shit. So
chill out. Holding here. Oh no, that phrase.
We're going to put you all on ice.
On ice. Get out of here. Wrong phrase. Sorry, guys. Wrong phrase.
Oh shit! But anyway, yeah. But these are fantastic books. They're beautiful. They're well written. They're absolutely amazing. If you ever track a copy down, buy it straight away. They're probably on eBay somewhere. I wouldn't pay their eBay prices, but yeah.
As soon as I saw them, Shannon, I'm sitting here on my iPad with eBay open looking for them. So yeah, they're on eBay, and yeah, they got some prices on them too.
Yeah.
Man. So what
are they going for? I'm curious.
There was a $277 for the Superman one.
$277.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're jumping on eBay after this, mate.
It's
I'm thinking about it. Jesus, there's a few bills,
$350 if it's water damaged.
$350.
It's built well loved by water.
Good God, I was just talking about nostalgia, but I'm sitting at like about $1,000 there.
Screw nostalgia. Let's go. Money's the new nostalgia, baby.
Screw nostalgia.
Well, I think the thing is that like no one, I don't think anyone's really picked up an Alex Ross book and regretted it. So
there is like a lot of, because I thought I read Kingdom Come and I was blown away. I was like, this is insane, and I was reading it like 20 years later because I had no idea, and I was like, this is amazing. But then you like so much of the online stuff is like, so stiff, and he's so like everyone's like a statue and picturesque, and I was like, that's why he's good. That's cool. But yeah, it was there's so much of that where people kind of still think like everyone's like super stoic, like everyone's in their like their best form at that possible time. I was like, yeah, but that's the best thing ever.
He recently did a re-release of a series he did called Uncle Sam, which I got the originals of packed away somewhere, and I loved. And it was basically a critique of America, using not the comic book version Uncle Sam, but the myth of Uncle Sam as a character. So more, and that's also a great read. So if you probably won't be able to get the original stuff, but that re-release is available at the moment and probably still for a decent price. So I would suggest picking that up as well. I'm a big Alex Ross fan. I don't think I'd ever want to sit down and have a conversation with the guy because he's a bit of an arrogant prick. But his art is phenomenal. So I very much believe in separating the art from the artist. So 100%. Yes, I enjoy the man's art.
These views are not necessarily the views of ComX Studio and ComX Studio Incorporated.
On one of these shows, I would tell the time when I nearly got into a full-on punch-up with one of the visiting artists from Image. But yeah, that's the story from another time.
That's definitely going to require a deep dive when we have.
It's going to narrow it down to about 20 to 25 people. Can we get a year? Can we just get a year?
Oh God, it's probably about late 90s sometime.
Oh wow, that
sort of thing. Yeah. It was one of their younger artists, and he was a real up and comer. But
definitely David Finch.
Oh my God, he was a dick.
Definitely David Finch. He took him out, boys.
Dan Fragger.
Fragger
boom.
Fragger boom. The one everyone forgets about.
Does anyone want to volunteer to go next?
Yeah, I will.
Yeah, Justin.
We're going to jump into it because it's my favorite time of the year. It's October, so that means that it's a month away from my birthday, and also it's almost Halloween. So I love my horror. I've been a horror movie reviewer for about 25 years for a couple of different websites. And out of my love of horror movies, I also love soundtracks. Now, there's an amazing company in the US called Waxwork who do stunning soundtracks of horror movies and stuff like that. I think they're just releasing the soundtrack to Beetlejuice on vinyl. But one of the things that they also do that not many people know what they do is they also have a comic series.
Oh.
Now, being a horror guy, I love stuff like Tales from the Crypt and Vampirella and Eerie and Creepy and all that sort of stuff. And this is their version of that sort of thing. So House of Waxwork is hosted by the director. And this one has two stories in it. One's called Occult Slumber Party, and the other one is The Lighthouse. Occult Slumber Party is about a board game. It's kind of like a horror version of Jumanji, where they play the game and they're sucked into like a haunted house where there's a whole pile of sort of traditional Universal monsters that are after them. And The Lighthouse is your standard sort of, it starts off as your standard sort of a guy getting away from the world, and he needs to go and work somewhere where he's away from mankind. And so he goes and gets a job at a lighthouse so he can be by himself, only to find that the lighthouse was haunted. And then there's a twist, and then there's a twist, and then there's a twist. There's a lot of twists in the story. It's decent sort of indie art, two different artists per issue.
It's cool.
But the stories are okay. You know, they're that sort of the last page is a sort of a take that sort of thing, like all of those sorts of things. But the cool thing about House of Waxwork is that because Waxwork, the record company, brings it out, it comes with a soundtrack. So this is I think it's a 33 RPM single. It has the House of Waxwork theme. It's got the Occult Slumber Party soundtrack and the Lighthouse Keeper soundtrack. So good old-fashioned, old school. And because it's Waxwork, they love to release it on silly coloured vinyl. So yeah, I think they've only done 2 or 3 issues. They're pretty cool. They unfortunately, I mean, because they come with a single, they're $14.95 American. So that translates to like $40 Australian, and then it's going to cost you $20 in shipping. So they are a hefty investment, but they're such an unusual curio that I think that they're worthwhile getting. I don't know if they'll ever be worth money. So if you're a speculator, I don't know if this is the thing you go for. But just the fact that it's a comic with a soundtrack, I think that makes it for something a little bit unique. It was when I was looking for something to review for tonight, I was like, what sort of Halloween-y stuff can I do? And this sort of nailed it. I'd been doing housework and listening to soundtracks, and it was like, okay, then House of Waxwork's where we're going. So that is my pick. It's definitely it's a lot of money, but it's definitely worth it.
That's really cool. I haven't seen a book released with the soundtrack before. I was aware of Waxworks because I've got a few of their records in my personal collection, but I actually hadn't been keeping up with them to know that. Like I'd heard inklings about them getting into comics, but I didn't know they'd actually launched anything yet. So that's actually pretty cool.
Yeah, so they've got their T-shirts and stuff like that, and their soundtracks are still going off, and they still do their yearly subscription. It's about $400 Australian, but you get a copy of every record that comes out for the year and a bonus one as well. And they only do, I think, 1,000 subscriptions a year. But their stuff's quality. I don't even know who did the soundtrack. So the Lighthouse Keepers performed by Creeper. Composed and performed by Creeper, and somebody called Douglas Pipes did the other one. But it's an interesting way to read a comic to actually have a soundtrack to go with it. But the tracks aren't very long, and honestly, they're probably about the length of time that it takes to read, like an anthology story length. So, but it's a bit of fun. And it comes with a digital download of the soundtrack too, if you want to whack it on whatever service you've got. So cool. That's my read for the week.
Nice.
Awesome.
Nice.
Cool.
Ed, do we have any comments?
Sure do. Let me find. Just click
Hey,
through them again.
Dave
Dave.
in the house. Batman versus Scooby-Doo. I know they've made a bunch of new stuff, but I remember the old Batman Scooby-Doo.
When they did all the celebrity cameos in the Scooby-Doo.
Yeah, they were cool.
Mm. Rock on.
Howdy, everyone.
Hey, Peter.
It's my first time doing the show, so I'm trying to settle into a groove, and I'm forgetting that comments exist. So we have a backlog.
Got to steal Captain Planet song.
Great fact about Captain Planet: the character design was done by Neil Adams.
No.
Oh wow,
That makes sense.
It's why they're so awesome.
Mm.
I'm also very keen.
I'm so looking forward to that doco.
Yeah. I live regional though,
yeah.
so we don't always get those released in the cinema. So I'm like,
No, I think that's a streaming only. I think that's going to be on like, God, what do you have to get? Oh, Binge maybe. I think Binge is Warner Brothers stuff. Buy the physical media; it's better.
I agree.
I do remember downloading the script for the original Nightmare on Elm Street film, and I put on the soundtrack of the movie while I was reading the script.
Oh, cool.
And it just made for such a cooler experience.
Yeah, it's funny. I always put on music whenever I'm doing boring stuff around the house, and like sometimes I'll just pick something I haven't listened to for a while, and it's like, that's probably not housework music.
Mm. I think the best music to cook to is Prince. Personal opinion, I'm a big Prince fan.
I feel like it's like cooking like pudding. That's the pudding music. It's like, oh, I'm gonna have some nice, smooth tasting pudding here.
Yeah,
it's the PG pudding music.
The PG pudding.
I do remember at the peak of COVID, where I was working, I had to constantly go and get tested every week, and you'd just be sitting in line in your car waiting to get the test done. And I was having a good day. I had the music turned up. I was just sitting there waiting and stuff. And then I realized that I'm sitting in line for the pandemic test, listening to the song "This Is My Dying Song."
Look, I'm glad you clarified that it was for like a COVID test. It wasn't just any other test. It was for COVID.
It was COVID test. It was
I
COVID
was
test.
just, I was worried about the tangent there. That's right. It's good. It's like had some pudding. The next day got a test. It was a happy story. It's a happy story.
I think Nathan, you've been great. You're in the
This is my
zone.
last time, guys. Thank you.
And,
It was nice having you on, mate. Like, we're gonna miss you.
As a result of that, you've volunteered to go next.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay.
That's your prize.
So this time, I don't know if anyone's ever done it before, but I'm doing Beta Ray Bill. Specifically Argent Star, which is the Daniel Warren Johnson version. So I'm a pretty new fan to him. Like I kind of came across him like a year or two ago, and at first I was like, I wasn't sure about his artwork, and I kept looking at it. I'm like, how's he? I was like, oh, it's a bit weird. And then the more I looked at it, this guy is crazy because he mixes. He's got really good perspective. Like the perspective stuff kind of grabs me, but then he works all traditional, all kind of really brushy lines, but he just has like a really good grasp on like kind of scale and stuff. Like I mean, this is probably not the best example in the book, but it's just kind of big random splashes like that, and it's almost like there's a lot of set pieces that I find really interesting, and I kind of went into this book blind. I didn't know a lot about Beta Ray Bill because it was just never a character I read. Everyone knows about Thor. I knew he was like Thor related, so I kind of went into this book with just kind of like no idea. And I think sometimes that's kind of like the best way to read a book because you don't have like a preconception of like lore or what's his background. And I think it was a benefit for me because I think this kind of has its own continuity a bit. Like it's very much his own story. It's got some other characters in there. I personally tend to prefer like a character-driven story rather than a team book. Even though I've read some team books where there's like 5 characters and you're swapping in between, like I do enjoy just being able to focus on, one story and kind of follow that person along and kind of their kind of journey. But pretty much the setup for this is like he's in a really bad spot. Like he had to defend. There's a big battle, and he doesn't have his main weapon anymore. So he's in like a weakened state. Like he's still powerful, but he doesn't have like it's not Mjolnir. I'm not pronouncing that right, but there's like his axe, which I can't remember right now.
Stormbreaker.
And yeah, Stormbreaker. So that's kind of in this continuity, like it's gone. Like it broke in a previous comic, and this is kind of coming after it. And so he's kind of depowered, and they do a big battle, and it goes badly, and then Thor shows up and kind of saves the day. And it's kind of putting him like, he's kind of tired of living in Thor's shadow. He's like, every time I do something, you rock up. So he's like, yeah, we needed help. It's like, yeah, but all the time. And so I think he's kind of on the back foot. So you kind of feel for him a bit. And he's, like, this is some cool, like, if there's people who know Daniel Warren Johnson, like he's got crazy art. Like I love his use of blacks and just like really brushy, really energetic lines. He's he kind of just puts the energy kind of before everything else. Like if something's not technically right, it's like he's like, nah, it's about what it makes you feel. And I think it's good to kind of see that because sometimes you kind of get, especially as an artist, you kind of get caught up in like, this needs to be perfect and this needs to be right. And he has stuff that's, I wouldn't say it's perfect, but it's like, it looks awesome. And he's like, yeah, that looks cool. That's why it's there. Is it the perfect arm length? No. Does it look cool? Yeah. Like that's his kind of mindset. And I was like, I kind of got behind that because I was watching a couple interviews and I was like, yeah, that's cool. But yeah, it's kind of like just a journey. Like it is like five issues, I think. And it's kind of like, it's almost like a fantasy journey, but it is quite long and you're following his story, there's a lot of like little subplots which I won't really get into. I don't want to give away like too much. I bought it solely based on the art, and I really enjoyed the story, and that doesn't always happen. And yeah, it was just like an interesting one because he doesn't have his helmet on, so I think a lot of people that I've shown, they're like, why does he look so? Then you get a good picture of him. Yeah, okay, that's like another slash that like I think I saw this and I was like, okay, I have to get this book.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so his just understanding of like how to draw stuff like really, really well, and like just crazy perspective pages, but somehow keep the energy into it. Because if you imagine trying to draw that, and there's like a lot of stuff you have to go, like what not to draw, kind of, and you get kind of caught up in all the detail work. But just, yeah, he's really good at like pulling focus on the right things. And a lot of it is because he's kind of not the best looking dude. A lot of people are used to seeing with his helmet, and they don't like him without his helmet. And that's kind of a thing in the story as well. Like he's kind of struggling with like, yeah, like everything, like his identity. Like people kind of think I'm ugly, and I'm not that powerful anymore. And that kind of sets up his journey. Like he's trying to find Odin. Because at this stage in the lore, like Odin's disappeared. I don't know where he is, and he wants to get the weapon back, so he's like powerful. So that's the kind of like the journey. That's what sets him off on the journey. He's like, screw you, Thor. I'm going on my giant spaceship that I happen to have. Going to get my sword, and then I'll be powerful and good looking again. And it's kind of at the end, he kind of learns what's more important. You know, like that's the kind of crux of the story. Like you kind of see the other characters come in, and he kind of learns like, yeah, it's probably not how I look that's important, but you know, like, and this is like simplifying it a little bit. There's tons of references to the original Peter Pan movie, like with Rufio and stuff in the background. Have you guys seen like the original Peter Pan, like Mr. like Hook and stuff? Robin Williams. So like this little on the spaceship, there's like little screens, and he's drawn in like basically like little scenes like that are really simplified, and you hear them kind of saying little lines from the movie. And as you go through some of the pages, you see it just in the background, like little Easter eggs. I don't know what the meaning of that is. I think it's like kind of subtext towards the whole story, but it's pretty cool. I like it. But Wyatt, I think he's like, I mean, you guys will probably know him. I've just started on this, like Transformers. So he's done this.
I was going to ask.
Yeah, huge Transformers run. I don't know anything about Transformers, so I don't even know like who the Transformers. I've seen like some of the Bay movies, sort of thing. But
they're robots in disguise. Just to help you out.
I picked up on that. Yeah,
there's more than meets the eye.
Definitely more than meets the eye. But this is awesome. I kind of wanted to see like how the heck is he going to draw robots? Like how do you draw such perspective heavy things without it becoming kind of like sterile and give life to them? And yeah, he figured it out, that guy.
Mm-hmm.
He's too good.
One of the books that started to make him a really big deal was a book that he did at Image called Extremity. And that book is like so phenomenally detailed. Like the world building in every single panel is insane. And like there's not that many other people who are still churning out the volume of work that he seems to be able to be doing, that putting as much detail and style into their work as he seems to be able to do. Like he's in that. It's kind of like Trad Moore, where there's a few and the White Knight universe that Sean Gordon Murphy.
Yeah, it's just crazy.
Like I feel like Daniel Warren Johnson's in that group where his overall vision when he puts something together is so uniquely like fitted that he gets that benefit of the doubt to put stories together and do things pretty much whatever he wants to do. Like he's got a tremendous amount of trust and creative control, I think, with the projects that he ends up working on for any of the studios so far.
I think like, so I watched a couple interviews and I've kind of watched him work, and like he can definitely like work fast. I think it depends like what he's drawing, but like if he knows what he's kind of going to draw, like I think he can knock it out like pretty quick, because he is like all traditional, and he kind of has like, watching him work is like kind of frantic. You just watch it and you're like, I don't know how that's going to work. And then it's almost like painting, but he's kind of painting with ink. So he's kind of thinking like 2 steps ahead a little bit. Because if you look at it halfway through, you're like, whoa, this could go real bad. And then he just goes like, here's the magic dust. And bam, you know? And yeah, but I think it's like the energy now where like, I think there's such a digital influence, and I'm not like going to be like digital's bad, but this stuff is so clean looking now, especially with like the main, big mainstream comics. And it's like trying to find something that has that kind of grit to it, bit of energy, and like almost stuff that's like purposeful mistakes that he's just leaving there. It's kind of cool. I kind of like that. He's not about perfection. I mean, he is on certain things, but like there's a lot of stuff that's like, no, that's not perfect, but that's what, if you took that away, it'd take away from the piece, So, yeah, I've been really enjoying it. But he is really good at conveying emotion with the characters too. Like, he's not just doing like action stories. Like, everything has like an emotion tied to it, like with the character. It's not really just explosions and stuff. There is a bit of a journey there. And it's not really based around like heroic sort of stories. It's more, that's like the hook, like he has a big character stuff, like, but it's more of like a based on like family or something, or discovering like who you are, what should be more important to you than maybe what you're thinking, and I think that resonates with me, and obviously a lot of other people, because I picked up on that. So that's my review. Thanks, guys.
Ed, do we have any more comments?
That Transformers series was something I spoke about, I think, like one of my first episodes on the Recent Reads.
Have you read it?
Yeah. And
the second show,
I'm a Transformers fan from like back in 1984. I love the characters, and that book and that series of stories is blowing me away. I mean, it's so good. It's so well drawn. It's so well written. It's genuinely giving me PTSD. You're actually coming away from certain issues with a little bit of heartache, because it's not just smashing toys together anymore. Like, this is a war story. These people, these are characters that have been in a war for centuries. It's affected them. And this is actually coming through. And it's phenomenal. So if he did the art on that Better Age Build one, I'm going to try and track that down.
Yeah, but like that's the thing with them. Like I'll read a lot of books, and you don't get that emotion, or like you look at it, but you don't kind of maybe grab that emotion. And like he's really good at doing that. Whereas the other stuff, you just like, oh yeah, other person said is sad, but like I feel with his stuff, you feel it a little bit more. Like you're like, oh. Like there's that Transformer where it's not really a spoiler, but he's Optimus Prime like stands on the deer, and he just murders this deer by accident because he doesn't know Earth yet. I think that's the point. He's like, what's that? And he just murdered this deer. He stood on it, and it's like, oh man, that's so mean. And you kind of feel really bad because he just doesn't understand, and you kind of he's like learning how Earth works.
Yeah, and Optimus Prime in that story, he is broken. He is so broken, and it comes across in his body language. He is slumped. He is like his head is hanging a lot of the time. He is like, you can see how much weight he has on his shoulders as he moves when he's not in battle and stuff. And it's just like, it's incredible. It really is. I mean, I can't get across how good I think that story is. And and the artwork is adding to the story brilliantly, but yeah, it's amazing. It's like, once again, like Transformers are toys. Okay. That's all they've ever really been. Yes, people have done some good stories with them, but they are toys. In that book, they are characters, they are warriors, and they are broken.
Well, it's a multiple Eisner Award-winning book as well. So
it is. But yeah, no, he's got a new book out, which I'm gonna start reading. He's mostly writing it. Like the moon is following us as well, so I'm kind of gonna jump in on that. But no, he's one of the few artists where he actually has emotional weight in his stories, and like for a robot, and you're like, why do I care about this robot? I don't even know this robot.
Wonder Woman Dead Earth was really good too.
The humans in it, are they new characters? They're not like pre-existing characters. Like
some of them were new. I think they brought back the Witwikis. So Spike and his son. I can't remember what his son's name is. Excuse me. Sorry, apologies. But yeah, some of the other humans, like the little girl in it, she's a new character. That's been added to this. But yeah,
because it's like it's their first. The way I understood it, it's like the first time they've come to Earth. Like that's how they're doing it. Like they haven't been on Earth before.
Yeah, they went back because I remember when it first came out. They went back to the beginning, pretty much at the beginning of like where the cartoon started, like from back in '84. And so I've seen that and just thought, oh god, they're retelling this again. No, they just used that as the stepping on point. Like, all right, they had their war in Cybertron. The Autobots escaped Cybertron in the Ark. The Ark crashed to Earth back in the dinosaur ages. It's been stuck in this mountain all this time. A volcano wakes them up, as it does, and the story starts from there. But where it was just sort of cute and like toy ads and that sort of thing back in the 80s, and like everybody's shooting guns and nobody ever hits anything. This one, like Starscream wakes up and the first thing he does is executes Bumblebee, and that happens in the first issue, which lets you know that, all right, Bumblebee is like one of the most popular characters. And they just
hate to interrupt our wonderful Transformers love fest that we've got going on right now. But we do have to get to Ed's review. So Ed,
what have
you got for us this week?
Okay.
Ed just holds up his book and goes, "It's good." That's it.
I'm going to be looking at Mega Rage Roboto by Neil Blandon, and the great thing, like straight away on the cover, it's like featuring robot, note featuring none of these robots. And so this is a comic book by Neil Blandon, even though he pretends it's by Jack Kirby and Stan Lee. And another thing that's really great about it is it's got this cool 2-page like poster, and he's put it at the front, because normally if you were boring you would put it in the middle so you could just take the staples up and take it out, but because Neil's kind of an innovator, he's put it at the front, so you have to take the whole comic book apart to get the poster out, which is great. And so this is like this is a full comic book story, because normally like his other stuff like Bland is shorter stories, one panel cartoons and comics. And so this is the story of these two kids. We see the boy's calling the girl all types of poo stuff. So she challenges him to a giant robot fight. And then you've got the parody ads, the indifferent Dan's trying to steal the kids' Twinkies. And then it goes into the robot battle. And then like these parody ads, they're so cool. The how he's lettered that, it actually looks like an old school kind of ad from back in the day. I especially love the sea monkeys who sell grit on the back and the stupid prizes. There's a great one with the calculator robot. This is cool. Should have got it at the time. Too late now. It's $150 on eBay. It's all classic Neil Blandon humor. And then there's a big robot fight. There's a cool bit where the plane's coming in about to land. Nothing's gone wrong, and then the robot grabs it out of the sky and then hits the other robot with it. And then there's the fight ends where he kicks him out over the skyline, and there's a big explosion. And then there's the general comes out of nowhere and laments the letting kids settle arguments with giant robots and destroying the city. And then there's another great 100-piece dead toy soldier set that you could buy. So if you've read any comics, like from I'd say like the late 70s, this kind of reminds me of. You can it really has that cool feel, and then you get that crazy Blandon where it's always reminds me of like underground stuff, like from the 60s, like the San Francisco era. And if I can find it, it'll be in this one. He does like, if you see how crazy I love just how like mental the Neil's artwork is. But there's gotta quickly find it. Yeah,
It reminds me of Blab. Do you remember Blab?
no, I don't think I've
It's
heard
like some of the artwork from Blab. It's great.
But he's doing a Crumb riff with the Crumb's shading and stuff. It's
so
about
good.
pencils going to heaven.
Got that Mr. Natural sort of looking characters there. That's
Yeah.
cool.
And also because we were talking a lot about what's his name, the Scott McCloud, the Understanding Comics, that Blandon's doing the comics. Is it's probably the best one out of all the different types of those types of the how to do comic stuff. And I especially enjoy when he's like, this is equipment, they're all essential, please do not argue. So it's like most of this book, he's telling off the reader to not argue with him, and he knows what he's talking about and you don't. And so listen to me. It's all great stuff. And yeah, if you get to go to a convention or wherever in Melbourne when Neil's there, go buy his comics and bring cash, because he does not accept cards.
See, that's
Does
the
he
kind of
have-
advice that we need to be giving people.
Is his stuff available through the comic store as well?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure these ones are on there. The Blands, these are really good. So he's a great artist, and he's very funny and very cynical too. Like I love the cynicism of how much like being a cartoonist will destroy your life if you like commit yourself to it. I feel very
I've made a mistake.
Oh, I wish I could argue with him.
That's it. I'm going to go and get a job in an office.
You'd be better off.
I don't think so.
While Justin contemplates life in a cubicle, Ed will go to the comments.
Alrighty. I'll just scroll through them again. But this one about Dylan's New Nightmare.
Yeah, it's a fan film. I just found that on YouTube. I'm going to check it out when I can.
Oh, cool. And thanks to Eric.
Thanks, Eric.
Thanks, Eric.
Captain Planet.
Yeah, I was surprised, but as soon as you learn that it's Neil Adams that did the designs for Captain Planet, you look at them again and go, "Of course, it was Neil Adams that did the designs for Captain Planet." Morning.
We got Shawnee.
Yeah, we won't start talking about Transformers again.
It ended up being the perfect segue sidebar to Ed's comic about two robots smashing each other up. So
That's me.
But old nanny show.
Kablam. That is ringing a very, very vague bell.
Same.
Wasn't Kablam was like a weird live action like stop motion show? I don't think it was right, and it was like weird. And yeah, I think that would be like little toys that fight, and they'd be like kablam, and they'd put like those comic like sound effects onto it. No idea what it was about, but I think that's what it is. Like,
this is also the time of night where, if anyone watching wants to be on the show, we're going to put up a link for you.
Do it.
So if you want to be my replacement,
we're actively marketing for Nathan's replacement
because I don't get
please
asked
go
back.
to comx.show/interest.
It's just going to be a paper plate and a stick with a face drawn on it.
Don't talk about Prince.
A different artist will draw on the plate every week.
Yeah.
The artist formerly known as Nathan, right? To that.
But come on the show; it's a whole bunch of fun. We do get to talking about comics in between some of the other things we talk about, but it's great. It's a great way to join the community and just talk about the books that you love and share that knowledge with people. Especially if you've read something like weird, there's a million comics out there. It doesn't have to be anything that's been released recently. It can be indie publishers stuff from Australia or anywhere in the world. It could be, your friend's book. It could be anything. If it's a published comic book, you're welcome to come on the show and tell everyone about it, where they can get it, who did it, all that sort of info as well. So we're going to put up another video for you and show you where you can pick up some amazing Aussie comics.
Are you feeling a little down? Tired of reading the same old books again and again? Looking for something different? Why not head over to the ComX shop now and pick yourself up some freshly inked inspiration?
That's always Scissor's favorite part of the show, by the way.
It's the number one comic ad in the comic space. All right. What time of the day is it now? Time to plug, everyone.
Hell yeah, plug time.
If you've got something you want to talk about, you're going to get. I'm going to be more flexible than Sis. You'll get as much time as you need without triggering me from our past Transformers sidebar. So Nathan, tell everyone what you got going on.
You can read my first issue of my comic. It's up for free at Global Comics. I'll post a link up after I plug it. If you like thriller, sort of trippy kind of comics, we don't quite know what's going on, but it pays off. Yeah, that's kind of what it's about. It's a bit of a mystery, but you should read it. It's free. Working on the second issue at the moment. I'll have to be doing a Kickstarter for it later on. But to get an idea, if you read that, I'd love to know what people think. I'm always keen for feedback on it. It's all black and white, so I'm a huge fan of kind of just black and white art in general, and kind of building that kind of medium up. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, let me know what you guys think. Appreciate it.
Awesome. How can anyone watching say no to a free comic? This is a show about comics. It's about reading comics. You're here because you love comics. You're being offered a free comic. All you got to do is go to that link, and it is free to read. It's like free candy.
I'll appreciate it. Yeah.
You could read it and then come on the show and review it.
Yeah,
You could.
you could.
Yeah, and we'll have Nathan on here, and you can review it to his face. I kid. It's all in fun. Shannon, you got anything going on?
Not a damn thing.
Not a damn thing. That is all good, my friend. Justin, what do you got going on?
So I'm just practicing drawing as much as I can as I'm doing my thumbnails for my comic that will be out whenever I damn well finish it. You can follow me on Instagram at Joro Illustrates. It's just art that I'm practicing. But if you want to come on there and tell me about something that you've read, send me a PM. I'll be more than happy because I'm always looking for something new to read. So please.
And give him a follow because it's support the artist's journey as well. Like it's we're all a community here, so everyone needs all the support they can get. So you get to sort of follow a comic book being sort of conceived and brought out into the world, which is pretty cool.
Watch
nice
my birth. You can watch my birth.
Bulma or a new Bulma piece up there, huh? Didn't hear it from me.
Do I need to do that again? Do I?
What No, it was good. It's good. It's very good. Well balanced.
Ed, what do you want to talk about?
I've got my comic book Radical. There's 3 issues out. Number 4 is coming soon, and Sea Mandrels from Earth, and they're on the ComX shop, or you can buy them directly from me and at Ed Kearsley Art on Instagram and on Patreon, and that's it.
Awesome.
Hey Ed, is your skateboard still available as well?
Yes, I do have a couple left.
Yeah, you could rock. Someone in the audience could be rocking a Radical skateboard right now.
Mm-hmm.
I think I need to
I
hang
get the
out.
feeling someone on the show wants to be rocking a Radical skateboard.
He's already scoping the walls to see if there's space to put it up. Well, if I move that Tron box and I put some of those action figures over there.
Justin, I have to say, I'm very disappointed in you. There's white space behind you.
I know, it's terrible, isn't it?
You're letting the side down, mate.
So I apologize.
All right. Once again, if you want to be on the show, we're going to put up a link for you. You can go through and you can request more than just recent reads. If you want to be on Drink and Draw, if you want to be on Let's Make a Comic Book, the whole suite of comic shows are available for you to select. So send that through and someone will get into contact with you about which show you can be a part of. And they're all fun. They're all fun. You get to sit around with good people. You get to draw things. You get to talk about comics. You get to learn a whole lot, hopefully. And based on everyone's recommendations week after week, you just get poorer and poorer and poorer as the months go by. But you get a nice fat bookshelf at the end of the year, and that brings you joy. It doesn't bring you movers joy, but it brings you joy temporarily, as long as you don't have to think about the day when you eventually move and have to empty all those bookcases into small boxes and then carry those down a flight of stairs. Not that I'm talking from any sort of experience, any recent sort of event.
Ryan, that's not how nostalgia really works, but go on.
Yeah, is that nostalgia or is that trauma? I'm not entirely sure.
I don't know.
They're the same thing.
It sounded like you're having a little bit of an existential dilemma there in front of us.
I think it was a flashback.
Yeah. It's like collecting and hoarding are the same thing.
Yeah, it's just from the perspective of the individual.
The only difference between collecting and hoarding is collecting is organized.
Yeah.
Yeah,
they don't have an app for how you store your hoarding stuff, but they do for your collecting stuff.
Last thing that everyone can do for us, give us a like, give us a subscribe, click the little bell, get notifications, and you'll get notified when all new comics, not just for this show, for all the shows across ComX. Anytime new content goes live, you'll get a little notification to know about it, and we'd appreciate it. We've cracked 500 subscribers, which is absolutely phenomenal, and we want to keep growing the channel, and we do that by shares, likes, subscribes, and making sure that you're checking out the shows and supporting the different ComX ventures. One thing I want to mention before we wrap it up, for any Death Ship Jenny fans out there, Rob O'Connor is currently got Death Ship Jenny issue 5 Invasion up on Kickstarter, and I haven't checked the goal as of yet, but I think it's going pretty strong. And so jump on board, pick up the newest issue of Death Ship Jenny. You won't regret it. It's probably in the absolute top tier of Australian comics being made anywhere in the country right now. So get on board. Other than that, we're going to go around. Everyone can say goodbye. Thanks, Ed.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nathan. Thanks, Shannon.
Thank you.
And thanks, Justin. And thanks, everyone, for watching. And we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Like, share, and subscribe.